All right, looks like we are live. Welcome, everybody. This is the Hard Reset Podcast, live, episode number 3. Um, this week, guys, we want to touch on a very, very important topic, which is how alcohol impacts our vibration, our frequency, and more importantly, how it keeps us deeply rooted in a state of low vibration and why you should care about all this stuff and how this impacts you. Before we get into this, guys, just want to give a huge shout out to all of our followers on Spotify and everyone that's been following this podcast, all the downloads, all the listens. I check them all. So, guys, that's great. Thank you so much. We're
Yes, thank
glad,
you.
Crystal and I are glad that this is providing some value to everybody that's been listening. And today, keeping that in mind, today we wanted to touch on this topic. So, Crystal, I want to pass it over to you. So, how does alcohol impact our vibration?
Right, that's a really good question. And I hadn't heard about vibration and frequency until I got sober. And once I did, I really understood what a big deal it plays in your recovery. And so looking at it like your energy that's flowing through, whether it's not a weird kind of hokey pokey thing, it's actually physically happening and can be scientifically measured in your body. So when you're operating, you're super excited and everything, and you're feeling love, you're operating on a really, really high frequency. Your energy's flowing. When you're shameful and guilty, and depressed and angry, all of that's a really, really low frequency in your body. So how you can tie that into sobriety is, I don't know about you, Hamza, but when I was drinking, I felt I would wake up the next day and have a lot of that guilt and have a lot of shame because chances are I did something probably that I wasn't proud of the night before or said
Yeah.
something. So then it creates that. And guess what? Then you're stuck in that low frequency and that low vibration, which in
Yeah.
my opinion causes you to continue to drink again.
Well, that's exactly it. You're absolutely right. I mean, I had many a night and many a day like that. But I mean, to take it a little bit further back, I mean, it's not like when you start drinking, you immediately get into that space, right? Like it starts off with first a few casual drinks, and then you end up having a few nights with waking up and thinking, oh my god, okay, I shouldn't drink that much ever again. But then you kind of just let it go, and then it slowly and slowly builds. The shame, the regret, the guilt, all of that builds, especially when you realize that, okay, I think I should stop. And I think this is getting a little out of hand. So let me try and cut back. And then when you do try and cut back, and then you realize, wait a minute, this is not going to go away that easy. And then the more times you try to stop and you make the intention that I want to stop, but then you end up changing your mind 2, 3 days later. And then
Mm-hmm.
you end up with the same pattern, specifically if it's the same pattern. And my pattern was, I'll just have one drink. But then by the time I would finish the first drink, I would already be ordering my second. By the
Mm-hmm.
time the second is done, the third one is already on its way. And by the time I've had my third or my fourth, I've stopped caring about whatever it is the person who sat down to have the first drink thought. And it's almost as if I have a completely new mind and I'm thinking from a completely different place. And it wasn't until I educated myself on like what really is happening in my brain, it wasn't until then that I realized that each and every cell in our body vibrates at a certain frequency.
Mm-hmm.
The emotions that are being emitted from the different hormones in our body are responsible for what type of vibration that is. And that, coupled with the fact that alcohol goes into our bloodstream and literally is impacting the frontal lobe's ability to function. So, you know how people say, oh, I only, if I wasn't drinking, I wouldn't have said that. Or, when you're drinking, the true part of what you really want to say comes out. What's
Mm-hmm.
really happening is that we feel an emotion, and then whatever that emotion is. So let's say it's something crazy like, oh, I want to, slap this guy, or I wish that, I'm like anything intense, anything crazy. that you normally wouldn't do, because normally what happens is your frontal lobe steps in and says, because it's the control panel, right? So it steps in and says, this is not right. Then you start rationalizing, then you start thinking, and you probably don't take action. When you're drinking, it's the opposite. Your frontal lobes cells are not vibrating at the frequency they should be. And because of the impact on the frontal lobe and its cells, we are not in control anymore. And that's when we do all the dumb things, all the silly things, all the stupid things that then lead to regret the next day.
Yep.
And then when you wake up with regret the next day, then you are starting your day off with that
Low
low
frequency.
frequency.
Yep.
You're feeling like crap, and your body is, trying to recover. And then most likely on the hangover day, you're also eating, comfort food, which is usually code for grease and fried stuff, and it all compounds and adds on to it.
And food has vibration too. So there's such thing as
Absolutely.
high vibrational food, which is always vegetables and stuff that
Absolutely. Anything that's
breaks
not
down.
processed.
I
Yeah.
know, I know. So I mean, it's just this big cycle when you look at it that way. Sorry, I'm shaking there. And really, I like to talk about how our thoughts are directly correlated with that too, and how that creates our own reality. And so here's the thing, and this is an easy way to explain it. So first, you got this thought that you're thinking, and I'm trying to think of an example of maybe one when we're drinking. Like, do you have one? An example, a good example?
Of when we're drinking, or when
Yeah,
we are.
like during that cycle, like there's a certain thought that we continuously think. Maybe it's something that angered you. So you're thinking,
Oh,
my
negative
boss.
thoughts? Yeah.
Yeah.
So I'll give you an example. Every time I'd have a rough day at work, and when I would start to have drinks, then the really angry thoughts would come into my brain. Like I would fantasize about telling my boss off and all the mean things that I would say to him. If I could just speak to him right now, I would say this and that. But then I would notice that negative cycle of
Okay.
one thought
So
leading to
the
another.
thought is, my boss is disrespecting me. I'm not appreciated. I'm not appreciated. I'm not appreciated. So you're thinking that. You're thinking, I'm not appreciated. And so what happens with that thought when you're thinking it over and over and over again, and it becomes part of your subconscious mind. So it becomes a belief. And so when you believe something that is true to you and in your mind, then that becomes what you expect. So then you have expectation, and your expectations then become the dictation of your attitude. And so here you are saying, I'm not appreciated. I'm not appreciated. I'm not appreciated. I believe that no one appreciates me. And then you expect people to not appreciate you because subconsciously you're expecting that. And then your attitude is very guarded, probably because you would think, oh, poor me, because nobody appreciates me, because you've said that thought over and over and over again, that becomes that. And then your behavior is directly correlated with the attitude that you have. And then that essentially becomes your state of being. And so, or state of being is your vibration and your frequency. So a lot of us you've heard those sayings like attracts like, or what you focus on, you create more of that in your life. Or I love the one, your vibe attracts your tribe. All of those are exactly what the book like The Secret or The Law of Attraction are talking about. And you can see how that comes from one single thought that you continuously think, and to be that guard of your mind, because it essentially will literally change the vibration in your body.
Exactly. And now imagine this happening on a consistent, almost daily scale of over 10, 15, 20 years,
Right.
right?
Right.
All those people that, like, a very common thing that, now that you mention the thoughts in your mind, it had come to a point where, every Monday I'd say that, okay, I'm not drinking again, and this time I'm done. And then there'd be this little voice in my head that would say, yeah, no, that's, you can't do this. What's
Yep.
wrong with you?
Yep.
You can't quit. And each time I would remember that, each time I would break my wow within 2 days, a day, sometimes the same day, there'd be that voice that says, yeah, you can't do this. You can't really quit. You don't know how to do this. This is not possible for you. And you don't even notice that this is happening. And each time this thought occurs, it chisels away at your neural connection in your brain in regards to this thought, and it starts becoming you, right? So I love what you said, Crystal, about how when you think a certain thing and believe it to be true, then your body believes it to be true. So it doesn't even have to happen in real life. It's just that what your body believes to be true. And that is precisely why, see, this loop from hell is what I like to call it,
Mm-hmm.
essentially, is if we zoom out a little bit, we've got a standard person who struggles with the standard stuff that everybody does, and they just have a habit of coming home and having a drink. But each time they sit down to have a drink, what is the mental commentary in their head, right? Is it negative? Is it positive? 99.999% of the time, it is usually whatever it starts off as. The time, by the time you're in your third, fourth, fifth drink, it's the same soundtrack,
Yep.
or thought track, where it's all the negativity, and it builds up and it builds up. And the reason why it builds up, guys, is because our brain remembers every single time that we are under the influence, when alcohol is within our bloodstream, what the contents of our mind were. And it's like on repeat. Every time you start consuming alcohol, by the time you reach a certain threshold, 1, 2, 3, 4, and you will notice that the soundtrack in your mind will start again.
Mm-hmm.
What we don't realize is that all of these thoughts, they carry weight. It's a real thing, and it turns us into that person. Another thing we need to understand is that when a person becomes dependent on a substance, let's alcohol in this case, you develop what's called straw vision, right? So what straw vision is that like, you create more problems for yourself when you drink, and then when you wake up, you have to then face those problems. The challenge is that the last time you did this, there were still problems that you created that haven't been resolved, so they keep adding up and up and keep getting compounded. The more this happens, the more our window of attention sort of narrows. And each time there's any problematic event, any stressful event, our straw vision takes us straight to the bottle, straight to the drink, straight to alcohol, because that's the fastest way we know to change the way we're thinking and feeling right there and then. Now, this is not giving you the space to even make a different decision, right? It's not giving you the space to even think about it for a second. It's really just, oh, stressful event happened, now let me have a drink. But then the moment you have the drink, something else is waiting for you, and that
Mm-hmm.
is the low vibration. That is the emotions that accompany low vibration. um, I think, Crystal, now is a good time to bring up
The vibration of emotion
the
chart.
vibration emotion chart. So just bear with me
You
one.
don't want my piece of paper?
All right. So I hope
There it is.
everyone can see this. So, Crystal, please explain what this is.
Okay, so this chart on the left-hand side, you'll see the numbers, and those are what can actually be measured by certain
These
biofeedback
are hertz. So,
hertz.
guys, imagine hertz and frequencies, right? So, typically, I meditate at around 440 frequency music. If I ever feel like music, and you look at the 400-ish, it says reason, hope, and optimism.
Yep. 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 That's a great way to do it too. And we'll talk more about that, about how you can incorporate like high frequency into your life. And then you've got all the lowest, and you can see the top part, probably starting around the green. That's all the way up is expanded energy, and then all the way down is contracted. And what I mean by that is that let's just say you're looking through your bank account. That's a great idea. And you look at something that you spent money on, that you regretted, that you feel guilty about, that you feel, fearful about. Maybe it was something. Think of what that feels like inside when you think about that. You're really contracted. So that kind of energy is contracted energy. And then when you feel like so peaceful and joyful and like loving about what you did. Maybe you got your mom a gift or something, and you see that charge on your account, and you're like, like, oh, that was a good, or something you bought for yourself that you love. That's expanded energy. And so right around like I said, halfway through, you're that's right where we're trying to work our way up. And so when I look at this chart, and what I use this chart for in my own personal life is, like, why do I feel like crap today? Like, what's the deal with how I'm feeling? I'm like, where am I at? Okay, well, I'm kind of angry, maybe a little fearful. How do I work my way up? So immediately, and you talked about this in, I can't remember if it was our podcast or just an episode that you were live. You immediately, gratitude is such an amazing way to go up in the charts, because usually you can't just jump from like being super pissed off to like, Buddha enlightened, and be like, it's really difficult to do just instantaneous. Like you can sit there and think a few grateful thoughts, or think about your gratitude, and immediately you're bringing up your vibration. So it's that's why I have a tattoo on my back that says gratitude is a magnet for miracles, because it truly, and I believe that we are like a magnet. And when you are, that's why when people kind of put stuff out there, what you put out there comes back to you. That's kind of how I feel about that. So
Absolutely. And another thing I wanted to mention is, as an example, when you look at your bank account the night after, night
right.
after,
Oh my gosh. Yeah.
and I always struggle with this, because once the beer is flowing, the money flows right next to it. And let's take a look at an example. If you are consistently waking up and realizing, and consistently just waking up, and whatever you did the night before was shouldn't have happened, you have regret, your heart is sinking, you have anxiety, you have guilt, all of these, look at where they are in the
Mhm.
very, very bottom: shame, worthlessness, powerlessness, despair, right next to death.
Yep.
So what's happening is that now your body has entered a state of fully low vibration, and you're going to stay there until you start to feel better, or until you do something about it, right? So now let's take a look at some very real world examples of, on a day when you are spending the whole day in a low vibration, or until at least you start feeling better from the hangover, for example, everything you do that day is going to be low vibration. Whether you want to do something for work, whether it is you trying to communicate with somebody, the best version of you is not showing up. That is a given.
Yep.
Now, if this is the state that you are in on a consistent basis, minus, let's say, Tuesday or Wednesday, which are the two in between days when nothing is really happening. Monday is recovery day, Tuesday is half recovery day, Wednesday you feel good, Thursday you start drinking again, Friday, Saturday, Sunday you're in that whole thing again, and then we come to Monday. Yeah. If this is, because I know this is how I live my life like this, and consistently for a decade or more, you will be attracting like for like. You
Yep.
will be attracting if you are looking for a life partner, but somehow you end up finding always the wrong partner. This is the reason. All right, part of the reason. If you are trying to attract abundance, money, wealth, all these type of things, freedom, time freedom from this hell of alcohol dependency, these things, you can wish for them, but until your inner vibration changes, you will not attract them. And this law of attraction, guys, the sooner everybody could read up on this and understand that this is the truth,
Yep.
then
It
the
is.
whole world will be a much happier place, because people will stop giving a shit about 90% of the things that normally we do care about. Point is, the longer we string together instances of low vibration emotions, instances of feeling low, and instances of just constantly feeling like you're not good enough, you're not worth it, whatever it might be, that you don't deserve a good partner, that you're probably going to be like this your whole life, that drinking is just, this is just how it is, and there's nothing really in there for you, then nothing will change. It's
Right.
just, they will stay like this, and you will continue in that cycle. And the more we attract this in our lives, the more we move further away from what life looks like or could look like for you, right? And the more straw vision we have, the more we have to deal with our problems and then come home and finally have some spare time to ourselves, which we then spend drinking. Then you're just constantly burning yourself deeper and deeper and deeper into a cycle of maybe coming to some courage by, you know, by Monday to say, all right, I can do this, but then falling back down over anger, hate, jealousy, grief, and all of these things, right?
Yep. Which
So
is interesting, I'd like to bring up, have you ever seen the wheel of, like, when you're about to quit drinking or you think, "You know what? I might have a problem," and you go through almost like a grief chart, like a circle of, "Okay, um I'm angry that I'm like this," or blame, you wanna blame people, or you wanna, however you feel the shame and the guilt, and then you're like, and then you come up to acceptance, which I noticed up here. It's a high acceptance is high up on the vibration chart. So it's like you get to that spot where you're no longer willing to, um you're not making bets with yourself, like, let's just drink on the weekend, or you're ready and you're accepting that you can do this. That's a great time to quit drinking, is when you've hit that acceptance stage, but it takes a while to get there. It's like grief. It comes in waves of what you need to go through in order to get to the acceptance stage. And that's why you've said this before so many times. You got to do this for you, not for
well, that's
anybody else, like nobody else, because you got to accept that you have a problem and be willing to fix it.
well, there's two reasons for that, right? Number one is that people who truly love themselves and put themselves first don't live lives like we were, you know. And it's you don't willingly put yourself in those situations over and over and over and over again, right? and
So true.
and that's number one. And then the second part of it is that if nobody tells you these things, it's very hard for you to actually know how to get out of this, right? And one of the most one of the easiest ways. So this, remember that gratitude list that I made,
Yeah.
just to share with you guys what I'm talking about. I'm sure all of you guys have had, you know, spats with your significant others and gotten into it. Sometimes they're a bit too spicy, sometimes a little bit mild, you know. So either way, I had a spicy encounter with my significant other, which led me to feeling very, you know, sad. And to make a fairly long story short, I found myself sitting on my couch, sulking and feeling all these low level vibrations, low level emotions. And I was feeling a little guilty for what I said or what I may have said. And I was feeling anger and resentment and all of these things. And in that moment, I realized that, holy shit, I was starting to think about what it would feel like to just gulp down some Jameson, just like, you know, 3, 4 big sips, and like how the burn, sorry if this is a trigger alert for some of you guys, but I started to feel what it would feel like, the burn going down my throat and the calming feeling that follows just, you know, momentarily. And immediately what I did when it hit me what was happening, and then I put two and two together, that okay, first I started feeling low, and then because my body remembered for decades, for years, that every time Hamza is feeling these emotions, usually alcohol is present in the system, right? So that nervous pathway got woken up essentially, and that's why I started feeling urges. And what I did was I made a gratitude list. I actually have it right here. Um, so this was my gratitude list. It goes all the way, oh, all the way down till here, and then all the way here on the next page. And these are just all the things that I am thankful for in my relationship with my partner, right? Simple things, small things, big things. But by the time I was done writing this list, all those emotions were gone, because I was genuinely feeling the gratitude of like, okay, you know what? Like, she does do all this stuff for me. And, you know, we do have this. And anyway, point is, it changed how I was feeling within a span of 5 minutes. And it's true. It is 100% true. This is why today we are going to give, for anyone who is stuck in this low vibration setting, if you are if you are somebody who is consistently drinking and drinking in excess, you are stuck in low vibration. There isn't a second way about it.
Mhm.
So today, Crystal and I, we want to give you a little tip that you can use in your home or whenever you are feeling low, to start thinking and feeling differently.
Yep. I would say definitely get yourself a journal. Having I like to bullet journal. I'm not this big, like, well, today I woke up at this time and this time and did this and this. I'm not very detailed, but I'm like, number one, I'm great. I would start your morning or your day with three things, at least three things that you're grateful for that day. And I mean, it gets you to think about what you have in your life, not what the lack feeling. It's actually the abundant feeling. And meditating and bringing awareness to the thoughts that are constantly going through your head. Maybe throughout the day, notice what your thoughts are. Write them down in that journal. It's kind of like a food journal. You write down that you're trying to quit eating a bunch of crap in your life. You're like your what are they called? The trainer, at your
Yeah,
gym
I
is
mean,
gonna be like, write your food down. What are you gonna do? You're
well,
gonna
what you're
write it
doing
down.
also is by starting a gratitude journal. The first and foremost thing is, especially if you are thinking about the things that you're grateful for first thing in the morning, that is going to set the tone for how you're feeling and how you start your day. Remember, each day is a collection of moments that are strung together, right? And how you are feeling determines the next action and the next and the next and the next. So, starting off your day with simply things that you are thankful for is enough to start getting you to think and feel along the gratitude path and the abundance path. Next, the actual practice of meditation brings you calm and peace, and it also provides greater strengthening and integration within various parts of your brain, which then combine together for clarity, for better thinking, faster operation of your brain. Like you start, becoming, imagine getting an upgrade on your computer, right? Now it's working super fast. That's what happens with your brain too. And the third thing is eating high vibration food. So, Crystal, I'll let you take this one in terms of what high vibrational food is, and how you can sort of train yourself to listen for high frequency tunes in your coming from your body. Let's say.
Yeah. Yeah. The eating the high vibrational foods, I honestly, when I started hearing about this, I just Googled high vibrational food to see, and it truly is just like eating, clean eating, lots of veggies, lots of fruits. And not that we're going to do that all the time, but maybe when you're feeling low, probably isn't the best time to eat cake and pizza and all that, because it's not going to enhance your vibration and your frequency.
If it
Um,
comes out of a box, it ain't good for you.
no, nope,
Right?
nope.
That's
And honestly, I think that even like you could go into saying like the pesticides and everything on fruit and veggies. So trying to eat organically and, local is really good too, especially if it's not sprayed with a bunch of stuff. I think because that brings down the vibration of it. But I mean, come on, if you're going from McDonald's to an apple, who cares if that's just my
it's still an apple and
it's
not
still an
McDonald's.
apple. It's
Yeah,
better than a Big Mac. And the other thing that you can do that's easy to physically, there's a couple different things actually. Number one, go on, and we do this at my spa. I make the girls up front play. They go onto YouTube and we play high frequency vibrational music. You just type it in. There's tons of them out there, and like you said earlier, the hertz that you can play. Like if you're wanting more of a peaceful environment, they have like anywhere in the 600 hertz, and they'll explain it on YouTube. But that's a super simple way. I had my mom play high frequency music for healing while she was in the hospital. She was in the ICU for a couple weeks. She went septic and she was really low, emotionally, mentally. And I'm like, Mom, play this music all day long. And she did. And she got through. I mean, she was in many life threatening situations and did that. And I'm not saying that that's what the nurses and doctors didn't do anything, but I know that helped keep her vibration high. And then the third thing that I would add to things you can actually incorporate to physically lift up your vibration is finding a local healer or somebody around that has a biofeedback machine, or they call them, I don't know if it's Rife or Rafe. I think
right.
Rife, the Rife
Yeah.
machine. And that was invented in the 1920s and the 1930s. And the guy that invented this was trying to basically cure a lot of diseases and illnesses through this. He got shut down because I believe,
He was curing illnesses and diseases with it.
yeah,
That's why
there is no
that's
money
happened.
in it.
Yeah.
Yeah. He's like, oh crap, we can send high frequency through here. And the government's like, nope, you're not going to do that because there's no money. Anyway, that's for a different podcast. We'll talk about. No, I'm just kidding. But so anyway, in Mexico, they still, a lot of other countries, Germany, Mexico, they have cancer treatment centers that use these biofeedback, these high frequency machines to help people out. And so I actually took my entire family to one, and I did this right out of rehab. I didn't tell the lady anything other than I just sat there. They hook this thing up around your forehead, around your wrists, your ankles, and then it goes through the computer system, and they push high frequency through your body, and it wherever you're stressed, you hold it in your body somewhere, and it usually pushes it out. And she was able to find, she goes, interesting, you're really holding on to a pharmaceutical drug in your system. And I had just got back from rehab, trying to get off of Vicodin and Percocets and stuff. So it was interesting because I was holding, my body and my cells were still holding on to Vicodin of years and years and years of using it, and probably alcohol too. So it was just interesting. I wouldn't say I felt different, but the next day I did. I felt like, I was like, wow, I'm high on life right now. So, and I had my kids do it. I would love to continue to do it, but if you can do that, that's something you can add into your life too.
Thank you so much for that. I feel like we had a pretty good discussion. And, just as a quick recap, guys, when we drink alcohol, it lowers our vibration. That's just what it does by default, right? In addition to this, if you are someone who either already thinks a little bit negatively, or if you have been dealing with negative consequences as a result of drinking too much, then chances are those emotions are going to linger, and they're going to be comprising, like, the contents of your mind. If you notice that it's mostly dark, mostly regret or shame or guilt or worrying or stressed out, these are all telltale signs that you are now fully existing in a low vibration setting. And to make matters worse, what happens is we often drink to start feeling better about all the things that we are upset about. And all the things that we are upset about are usually because we did something when we were drinking, or we're just upset that we did it again. Each time we decide that we are not going to do this, and yet we do it again, it's like a killer blow, like a gut punch, but to your brain. in that it goes, oh, so we're not doing this? Okay, sounds good. And then once you string a bunch of times together of, okay, I'm going to stop drinking, but then you do it anyway, then the voice in your head will start getting louder. Each time you do make a choice that, okay, this time I'm going to stop, then there's going to be that voice in your head that's going to say, no, you're not, because you haven't done it before yet. So the key to get out of this is, please start getting in the habit of writing your thoughts down, positive or negative. It is a record of what you were thinking and what the contents of your mind are. And a thought doesn't originate in the same place as reading something that you wrote down yourself does, right? So it goes in a different part, gets processed in a different part of your brain. Writing things down is an essential skill for us to develop if we want to create personal change and personal development, right? And as far as alcohol goes, you are not all the things that you're thinking. It is just because the state that you are in is what is comprising, is what is leading to the thoughts in your mind, right? So if you are feeling depressed, and if you're feeling low, and if you're feeling, not so good about everything in your life, you have to understand that this is not the real you. This is the version of you that is alcohol dependent. And these thoughts are being generated from a mind and from a body that is dependent on alcohol for its functioning, right? And it will take a little bit of time for things to reverse and for things to change. However, the fastest way for you to go from feeling low to feeling good is to start finding things that you are thankful for and writing them down. And if you can bring yourself to do a quick 5, 10, 15-minute meditation, especially in the morning, all you have to do is, once you get into a meditative state, just visualize all the things that you're thankful for. Or maybe just repeat in your heart that hey, I'm thankful for my life, I'm thankful for my family, I'm thankful for my job, even though my boss is hard on me sometimes. I'm still thankful that I get to earn money where there's so many homeless people in the world, right? I There are so many different, once you get in the habit of being thankful for what you do have, it will take all the focus away from everything that you feel like you don't have in your life. So this is abundance versus scarcity. There's two different mindsets. And with the practice of this, especially if you are someone who, and we do this all the time with our within our membership, within our community, all the people, whether they're drinking heavily or whether they're just sober curious or whatever it is, gratitude works for every single person. And everyone starts off with journaling, with uncovering what their hidden thoughts and hidden patterns are, where they, what cues in their environment, in their external environment, are triggering them off. And there's a lot of self reflection, soul searching, so to speak, but then also writing all this stuff down. And then we find things that we are thankful for and grateful for every single day. And if you just start your day this way, it will be much harder for you to slip back into a negative frame of mind because you're thinking and feeling so good, especially in the first 30 days of your recovery. In these first 30 days, if you can build a habit of being thankful for what you do have, even when you don't really feel like you have much, because your attention is always focused on all the problems that get created by alcohol, or what people think or say about you, or what your family might think or say about you, or you know everything in between. It all starts from you. It all starts from within. You have to understand that every human being is a beacon of energy. There is an energy signal that's coming out of you at all times. And what that signature is entirely dependent on how you're thinking and feeling at all times. So, if you can gain a little bit more control over the type of energy that you are emitting and the hard reset, imagine there's this big lever that is set to this position. This is low frequency, completely on the negative plane of things. All the effort that we're putting in is going into bringing this lever up to this point, and this point is your 30 or so days of becoming alcohol free. And then we focus on bringing it all the way down to the other side, and this side you reach within 6 months to a year. And this whole reset is resetting. It's like from negative to positive, right? And then the energy that's coming out of you, instead of being negative, it's going to be on this plane, it's going to be positive. And once you are putting this energy out in the world on a consistent basis, that is when you start attracting the same things. In other words, that's when stars align for you. And that's when life starts to feel incredible, and that's when you start to feel powerful, in control. And then it's just how bad habits stack up, the good habits stack up the same way, right? And one day at a time, slowly but surely, you bring yourself out of this low vibration existence to one that is high. And when you do, when you are in a high vibrational existence on a regular basis, when negative things do happen, you will notice that the impact is nothing like it used to be before, and that it takes you a fraction of the time to bounce back from whatever it is. And the most important thing is you are defaulting to doing shit like making gratitude lists versus pounding down bottles. That is the difference. And that is what we teach at the Hard Reset. This is literally the art of alcohol free living. And Crystal and I, this is what we're after for every single person that needs our help.
Yes.
So,
Well
guys,
said. Well said.
thank you. With that being said, if you are thinking about making this change, if you are on the fence, if you are sober curious, or if you are interested in learning about what could change for you in your life, if you were to make this incredibly difficult choice and stick to it, click the link in the description, join Mindfully Sober, or the Mindfully Sober community by the Hard Reset. It's completely free to join. And once you join, you will have a full path laid out for you, all the tools, all the education, all the support, the community. Everything is organized for anyone to just come in, take it all in, and one day at a time, practically start changing their life. All right. Guys, thank you very much for everybody that joined us.
Thank you guys.
Thank you, Crystal,
Thank you, Hamza.
for taking time out of your busy Halloween activities filled day. So please enjoy the rest
I'm
of
going to
your
be Carol Baskin today.
nice. I am me today.
All right. Well, everyone have a wonderful rest of your day.
Thank you.
Thank
Take
you.
care.
Bye.